Pac-12 Media days. And I think Larry and his team have continued to do an amazing job of making this event a special one and a great one. It's fun to be back at USC. It's a special place for me, growing up in Southern California, spending 7 years as an assistant coach, and now to be back as a head coach is very humbling. We've got a tall task in front of us, but I really like this football team, and it's a credit to the previous staff and the job they did in recruiting. Really fine young men that have been closer together to me than probably any team I've been around. These guys are a very tight-knit group. There's tremendous leadership on this team, and there's a lot of talent. And obviously we have to go to training camp and put it all together and be cognizant of the fact that we have to work extremely hard. We need to have great competitive practices, but that we have to allow the recovery in place so that we're a healthy football team come the start of the season, and that we're a healthy football team come late November. And if we can do that, I think we have a chance to do something pretty special this year. So I'm excited about it. I brought 2 of our players with us today. Our returning starting quarterback, Cody Kessler, is with us today, and preseason All-American Leonard Williams is with us today. I think 2 really cool ambassadors for our football program, and 2 guys I know you'll enjoy spending some time with. So with that, take some questions. You know, it's unfortunate. I do that Monday morning radio show with Mitch every morning, every Monday morning after a game. And quite honestly, in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have done that interview that morning, but I had committed to the interview. I did the interview. There was nothing done. I hadn't accepted the job at USC yet. You know, hindsight's 2020. I think those moments where I should have started talking to clear news and stay away from cameras, but I did it. I tried to handle it to the best of my ability. You know, and so looking back, that's probably the biggest mistake, was just going on air. And Mitch did his job. I'm not upset with Mitch at all. I have a great deal of respect for Mitch. He did his job. I tried to answer the questions as best I could. Unfortunately, it didn't come out the best way I would have liked, but that's life, you know, and you try to keep moving forward.
Coach, I know you don't like to look at games, but can you tell us the younger players' reactions when you go out and with the scenes when you play Alabama and Classic?
Our kids are funny. I really don't think they care. I don't want to say they didn't care. Our kids are so focused on the season, and if you go ask Cody and Leonard, they'll probably get a little offended if you ask them, you know, because they're so focused on this training camp, they're so focused on Fresno State, that they're not concerned about, you know, 2-3 years from now. They're worried about today. We've got a big sign up in our building. Today is the most important day, and it really is. And so I think it's good for our program, and it's great that it's 2 or 3 years down the road. We've got Texas, I think, after that, and all sorts of stuff. But for our players, quite honestly, I think they're worried about Fresno State.
Just give them a stat.
I'm hopeful we can play more than that. Like I said, I think we brought in some good incoming freshmen, a JC transfer, some redshirt kids, some kids coming off of injury. So I'd like to think that we'll play more than that. But again, we'll have to learn that as training camp comes along, you know, and how much depth we actually really have. I think we have enough. But again, we need to be fortunate from an injury standpoint. For sure. And we've modified our training camp schedule. We won't have to change the intensity of practice. We're going to practice hard. And if you ask our players, they're going to tell you the same thing. We practice hard. It's physical. It's mentally challenging. Now, how much is what's key. And if we only have 1s and 2s, we're not going to run the same amount of plays in practice as we would have if we have 1s, 2s, and 3s on the depth chart. We're going to focus on the exact number of reps that our starters are getting. And so if our practices end in 1 hour and 45 minutes instead of 2 hours and 15, then so be it. But we'll monitor the amount of reps they get, and then we obviously are going to monitor the recovery time, which I think is so important. You're looking at sports science right now. Recovery is so critical to the body, to the success, that we really invested in that a year ago at Washington. We had one season-ending injury a year ago at Washington. USC at 19. We were a no-huddle team a year ago. They were a traditional huddle team. So I think there are things that we can do to preserve our players to get the best out of them.
Steve, is there one of those quarterbacks in Washington probably get ahead of the pack?
They didn't send me their spring ball film, unfortunately. So, I don't know. I think they're talented guys. You know, I recruited them, and I think Siler, Jeff, Troy are all really talented guys. I know they've got a couple of young ones coming in as well. So it's a great challenge. It's a great place to be in. You love competition. That brings out the best in the players, and they've got a very competitive group at the quarterback position.
Steve, you were just so affected by these sanctions, but when they were effectively done in June, did you feel like, I don't know, the cloud's been lifted, maybe you guys are still feeling the effects, but not...
Right. You know, I've said this numerous times. You know, we're going to focus on what we do have, not what we don't. And we have a really talented roster, about 65 scholarship players. That's not ideal. That's okay. We're still really good. We still have a chance to be a very good football team. We get to go recruit 25 of some of the best people, players, students in the country to come to USC in next year's recruiting class. And so the focus has been more on us and not so much the sanctions. You know, I think that could have been something we could have easily done and leaned on and, oh, what was me? We'll never have that mentality. The focus is on what we do have, and I think we've got a good football team that has a chance to do something very special.
Steve, you mentioned going back to the 25 minutes clock. How will that impact the Pac-12 landscape?
Hopefully it makes it harder on the other schools, but I don't know. You know, we're just trying to recruit the people that fit us the best. You know, and we're not chasing stars. We're chasing the best people, the best players to come to USC that are going to help our program continue to grow, get better, and compete for championships year in and year out. How that affects everybody else, I'm not very sure.
The evaluation period, the response has been
I think they like our staff. Our staff is very down to earth. I think we're real. I think we've got really good expertise when it comes to coaching the game of football. I think that when the recruits get around our current players are going to give them exactly how they feel about our current coaching staff. And I would imagine that that's going to be a very positive feedback. So, you know, recruiting is an interesting. It's an interesting thing because it kind of flows in waves and it goes on for such a long period of time. You know, you get a commitment in July and everybody is jumping up and down. I mean, these guys aren't signing until February. You know, this is a long time. This is a long process, and it's critical that we don't, you know, use all of our bullets before July and not have anything in September, October, November, December, or January. So we have to continue to develop relationships with recruits and their families and coaches so that they feel really comfortable who we are as people.
Has the response to you been different now that you're a senior when you go to see them?
They're probably never to ask me. You know, I don't know.
Do you feel the difference? I mean, when you're talking to them, or do they?
I've always said this. There is something unique about wearing this shirt that you sort of, when you have that SC interlock on your chest and you walk into school, whether it's in Southern California or anywhere else. This talks about 11 national championships, 6 Heisman trophies, more NFL draft picks, more All-Americans, more All-Pros, more NFL Hall of Famers than any other school. And so it is a powerful brand. So if that gets me into a couple more schools or a couple more kids that want to talk to us or come on an official visit, I'm glad to take it.
Also using the hashtag #TurnUpSC, what's the response been? It's pretty hip saying right now. I don't know. That was brought to me by our players that that's what I should be saying, and that's what so.
Can you say it?
Turn up SE. next thing I know, there was a billboard with my face on it, and Turn Up SE on it too. So it's just, you know, it's something fun. You try to stay connected to the kids as best you can. And if that little saying gives us that, then that's great.
Coach, you mentioned talent earlier.
You have them slotted first and guard on the depth chart. How fluid is that position?
Well, all of our positions are really fluid, quite honestly. You know, I think they wanted a depth chart at the end of spring ball, so we had to give them something. And we're going to go right back into training camp and let guys compete like crazy. There's some guys coming off of injury, Andre Walker, Jordan Simmons. There's some other new faces, Damian Mama, Vianney, Chris Brown that are showing up. So there's going to be really good competition on the offensive line. But to Toa's credit, he's worked extremely hard. He's done great in the classroom. He had a really good spring practice, and he looks really good. We get a chance now with the new rule to watch our guys work out some, and Toa's looked great in the workout. So I would foresee him being right there in the middle of that battle for a starting spot.